All right, good evening, everybody. This is David with Rocky Mountain Sports Report. And as usual, with me is
You're gonna make me have the lamest introduction ever.
here goes this guy
Matt,
again, man. Here's
woo!
Matt, everybody. So, all right, hey, we got a decent show for you tonight. We're going to talk about the Broncos quarterback situation. Then we will also discuss Justin Simmons and what is going on with him, Von Miller, and then we will definitely have a uh, free time. So just send us your questions, whatever. We'll talk about whatever anybody wants us to talk about. So, all right, Matt, the big one. We've been going back and forth on this for boy, I don't know how long now. You
It's too
have my
long.
blood pressure going earlier today. So the Broncos situation is still rumors out there that Denver, is in the Deshaun Watson, market. So, what's your thoughts on that? What do you think? How realistic do you think it is? And then if you don't think it's going to happen, then we'll discuss some other issues or some other solutions.
It's so difficult because there's so much speculation. It's so hard since we're so early in the offseason to really figure out what's true and what's not. There's so many rumors going around. I do think the Broncos have a reasonable chance to obtain him for sure. You look at the other teams that are competing against them. The Jets, the Panthers, 49ers have been in and out. The
And that
Dolphins have been in and out.
and the Panthers seem willing to trade almost everybody on their roster to to get this guy. So
Yeah, they seem what they could say that all they want, but at the end of the time, once you figure in contracts, dead caps, how much is going to affect their cap, it's not probably going to be a realistic option to say like, here you go, here's this, and this, because the repercussions are going to be way too steep. I think one of the rumors had Christian McCaffrey and Teddy Bridgewater together. Just them alone, it adds $29 million in dead cap. So you're paying them what they're paying them, and then you're adding $29 million on top of it. So
well, and maybe you get Houston to eat some of that dead cap for you. I don't know how all of that works and what you can do and what you can't do and all that stuff, but
yeah, it would be hard for. Houston really holds the cards in it. They don't have to really be willing to do anything. They're like, you want this guy, you're gonna do whatever we say to get him off, and if he's willing to go to you, he's willing to go to you. We got to look at that factor too. And is what situation does Watson want to go to? So if Carolina throws out CMC and Robbie Anderson was another one I was looking at. That what does that leave him with? Why would he want to go there if they're trading away the weapons to get him?
no, and that does make sense. I mean, why would he? One of the things here in Denver that is very attractive to Deshaun Watson is the youth of our offense. You
Yeah,
know where I stand on this. I don't like it, and it's not that I don't like Deshaun Watson. I don't want people to get me wrong and think, "Oh, this guy hates Deshaun Watson." No, I think Deshaun Watson would be great here, and he takes our team to another level. Does he make us a contender? Not right away, no. And everybody better be ready for some 8-8, 9-7 type seasons. But the price you're going to give up for this guy is really going to affect our rebuilding process. So and then you're going to have to turn to free agency, and free agency is more expensive. Then you start running into cap concerns, and then when you get these guys coming off their rookie contracts and it's time to pay them, then you don't have the money to pay them, and then you end up in this big mess. So
yeah, no, I
everyone
totally
needs to
get.
look at
Yeah,
the big picture of this, and not just, oh, Deshaun Watson's coming and we're going to the Super Bowl, because it's not going to happen that way.
I will say I do think that getting Deshaun Watson makes them an immediate contender for a wild card. Once you get to the playoffs, so anything can happen. We seen last year with Tennessee coming in as a wild card and reaching, almost to they got to the AFC Championship last year, or the year before last now. But it's difficult. It's hard because the asking price is going to be high. But when you look at a team like Denver, they do have a lot of leverage, especially if Watson wants to come play here. They're going to have some leverage because they can't have cahoots. I mean, in a sense, you can't have your management team reaching out to his reps in any sense. But there's nothing against this player stuff. That's not tampering if they're just buddies bullshitting around.
Right. No, and that's perfectly fine. That's perfectly fine. And
so
it's going to
happen.
These, but
yeah. So with these connections, if Watson's legit about coming here, Denver doesn't. They can drive a price, and it may not be as high as what Houston wants to. But if this ends up being the only place he wants to play, the price is going to come low. And everyone on the radio
Houston doesn't have to trade him.
They don't
have to trade him. They say, you know what, sit out. We're going to rebuild. We'll draft QB in the draft. You want to sit out? Go ahead. And lose all your money and give us back your signing bonus and everything else. And as soon as they start saying, "Oh, give us back that $20 million signing bonus," guess who's going to report to camp?
Oh, I don't doubt that he I know he'll report to camp. But I mean, even if they did that, they're going to be taking a huge step because it's going to affect the culture. It's gonna affect what kind of people they're going to be able to bring in via free agency. It's starting a brand new general manager regimen off to a bad start, a new head coaching regimen off to a bad start. It'll just create a toxic environment, which it's already being kind of labeled as. It's just going to get worse. You're going to villainize yourself even more if you do that.
I agree.
That's where it gets hard that's why with teams like the Broncos, if it was legit, it does lower the price. You hear all these analysts saying if the Texans hold on longer and longer, they're going to get more. I'm starting to feel that that's not true. The longer they hold on to him, the less teams are going to be involved. You're going to see teams like San Francisco start to drop off. And are they going to be more involved in trying to go after Trey Lance? Are they going to be more involved in Mac Jones? We talked about Jimmy G yesterday, as it would help them to clear out some cap. But it's not necessarily a move they have to make because they don't have any gigantic free agents that they have to re-sign right now.
Right.
It hurts what they're available to do in the agent market, but there's no imminent need for them to clear that cap right now, right this moment. So why not just say, you know what, we're not going to sell the farm. You're not cooperating with us. We're going to drop out. Carolina's right in that same pocket. They're at pick 7. If they feel Fields is going to be a good guy and gives them a chance, why not drop off? Broncos are kind of that one team that's sitting on the fringe of still being in enough of a range to potentially get a quarterback for the Texans if they trade for him. And as soon as Carolina drops off, I mean, it becomes hard for them to find a trade partner that's going to allow them to get a quarterback this year at least.
Right. And Scott Cole here of our MSR makes this comment. Matt Rule's going to 2 years in, and he's going to blow up the entire Carolina offense and is dumb. And I agree. If he really is going to give what he is, and it's like you said, why is Deshaun Watson going to want to go there if they're giving away all of his weapons? So it makes no sense. So got another person, Joe Sloan from down in Texas. He says we should trade 3 first-round picks for Trubisky. He's a Bears fan, so he's trying to get rid of Trubisky.
He
is a free agent.
He's a free agent. You don't even got to worry about it.
Yeah, we don't even have trade for him. So
yeah, we could just call him up and say, hey.
So
I mean, so is it a real possibility that Denver could obtain him? I think it legitimately is. Now,
and I think
I'll agree with you though.
I think the price is too high. That's my big concern. And Adam brings up a good point here. Free agents will accept below market deals to play with, a winning team. However, you got to prove you're going to be a winning team first. So just because Watson comes here doesn't make the Broncos a winner. You need more than a quarterback to win in the NFL. And if you trade away all your draft capital, how are you going to rebuild the defense? You're just going to keep turning over free agents and not build consistency?
I mean, essentially, that's what we did with Peyton Manning. Granted, Peyton was a proven winner who he could stay. But one thing I want to highlight, though, is his key word in here is millennial. So this generation is completely different from that era of DeMarcus Ware, TJ Ward, Aqib Talib, Chris Harris Jr. It's a whole nother era. if you want me to be honest, this is my generation that I'm talking about.
Oh, I
We
know.
like we like the easy way out.
You guys
So if
like
we know,
instant gratification is
yeah.
what you like.
So so if they know that Deshaun Watson wants to come here, there's a reason he wants to be here, and we're already squatted up with him. And if we feel that we got a good connection, we're going to go to it. It's back to this like schoolyard mentality. I want to be on his team. I'm going to go with him. That's what it is. These guys talk about making money, but yeah, at the same time, they want the rings. They want the fame. Is the fame is somewhat outweighed the money in some of these guys' lives,
Right.
especially some of these guys that aren't ever going to really secure that huge contract, like a Mike Hilton or a Chidobe Awuzie on defense, or even an Eric Wilson from Minnesota. They're never going to secure a top dollar free agent target. I mean, contract. They're just not. So I mean, you're looking at guys who are quality players that would even come at below market value potentially.
Uh, yeah, I mean, guys are still going to want to get paid, though. You know,
Oh, I mean, yeah, of course, everyone wants
it's
to get
not like
paid.
you're going to get them half price or anything like that. So you're still going to have cap issues and everything else you're going to have to deal with. And then when our younger players get off their rookie contracts, you're going to have them you have to pay as well. So we'll see. I mean, I think Watson does make us a better team than Drew Lock, but I don't know if it's an instant we're challenging Kansas City for the AFC West,
No, I would
especially
agree
with
with
our
that.
secondary in the condition it is in.
The biggest benefit of getting Deshaun Watson is securing a key free agent for next season, off season. Cortland Sutton's deal expires after this season. If
No,
he doesn't
and
feel,
I
yeah,
agree. I
yeah.
agree.
If
That'll
he
be
doesn't,
huge.
yeah, if he doesn't feel that there's a competent quarterback, as much as I love Cortland Sutton, they're not going to use a franchise tag on him to get him anywhere near what those top receivers make. Because let's be real, he's coming off an injury this year. He's an all pro in a sense. I think he has a ability to be a top 10 receiver, top 5 receiver, but he's not there yet. They're not going to say, here, we want to franchise you just because we hope you're going to be this guy. So then we're going through this vicious cycle of wasting that offensive talent that we've kind of built over the last couple off seasons. It's just going to go eventually, if we don't bring in someone here that can help these guys rise to the occasion. It's just gonna We're just gonna go in a vicious cycle, and then we've rebuilt the defense, and now we're right back in rebuilding offense.
Okay, and I just don't see Peyton being this reckless and just throwing draft capital away, because this is how Peyton likes to build, and that is through the draft and develop
Yeah,
mentality is what
I'll
he
agree with
likes to
that.
do. So throwing away 2 firsts and 2 seconds and some young players, it is sort
I
of
mean,
going against his whole philosophy.
well, the
So
one position he's been reckless with, him and the Minnesota Vikings have been reckless with in two different occasions. One, throwing a ridiculous amount of guaranteed money in Kirk Cousins. And
right.
granted, yes, that wasn't his decision alone, but he was a part of that decision. He probably was one of the deciding factors in saying that's okay. I'm pretty sure it was a committee-based decision, as most decisions at NFL levels are. They're getting opinions. So we don't know what side he fell on it, of course. But at the end of the day, he was part of a team that approved that massive contract. He was also a part of a team that gave up a mass amount of draft capital for an unproven quarterback in Sam Bradford, someone that they just hoped could turn it around, even though we've seen him battle injury after injury and be below mediocre his entire career when they traded for him.
And I actually like this comment here, because Washington has a built-in, ready-to-win defense, and all they're really missing is a quarterback. And I think they're, especially in the NFC East, I don't know if Washington's even in the conversation. But you know
I
what?
haven't heard
Once
anything.
once once Houston says, "Yeah, we're going to trade him," I bet you a whole bunch more teams get into the mix.
I would
Then
feel that's one team though that he would not want to go to just because of the same issues that he's seeing here in Houston. Washington football team probably has the most toxic owner in all of football.
well, I
And
think
Dan Snyder. Dan Snyder is not one that wants to give his players any kind of say. He has a negative image in the
uh,
public.
I, I think
There's been
Ron,
rumors that he might be forced to sell the team
I
because of
think
how unprofessional he
I,
is.
I,
I
I
don't
think
know.
I think Ron Rivera, changes that culture there. You know,
Oh yeah, no, I agree. I think Ron Rivera
so
does a great job.
and so we'll see. I mean, Washington
Yeah,
could be a player. Every team in the league could be a player. Once Houston officially says, "Yeah, we're going to trade him," but
yeah.
until Houston says we're going to trade him, then right now everybody's just blowing hot air right now.
Yeah.
So let's say Denver does not get Deshaun Watson. What's
It,
your next option?
my next option, I don't like any of my options. I mean, I want to go quarterback at 9. I think if I had to say what I would like to do, I would like to just take a quarterback at 9. Say, forget this entire spill of Watson, keep the capital to build the defense. But you and I had a great discussion earlier on this. We're not sure who's going to be there at 9. And if we're going to waste the capital to go from 9 to 5, it's probably going to be a similar package of what it would take to get a proven quarterback in Watson. So at that point, I don't know, who's on the board. If it's Lance, I'm not taking him. If it's Wilson, sure, heck yeah, I'm taking him. If it's Fields by some miracle, I'll take him. If it's Mac Jones, definitely I'll take him at 9. But we're talking about some of these guys going in back to back. We're talking about the first four, potentially the first 4 picks being quarterbacks, with Carolina cleaning it up at 7. Or
Well,
San Francisco,
Carolina's at 8, so
or 8. I mean, yeah,
we could
8.
easily trade up one spot ahead of, or 2 spots ahead, and I don't think it'll cost us an arm and a leg. If we go to, I think it's Philly who's sitting at 7. If we go to Philly and say, hey, we'll switch you 7 for 9, and we'll give you 40, and maybe even a third if they want that, then that's
Yeah,
not paying what you're going to pay for Watson.
no,
But
it's not.
but
But at the same time,
the guy you
yeah,
want has to be there.
yeah, and at the
And
same time, it's hurting you in this draft class
right,
because let's say this is a deep class where you're looking at those corners in the second and third round, those linebackers, like you meant, like your guy you've been mentioning like nonstop, Jabril Cox, huge coverage guy. We need that. We just seen it. Tampa Bay shut him down and shut Kansas City down. So if we do that, we're essentially putting ourselves in the same hole for this season. That's part of the problem. So it's hard. I do think Mac Jones will be there at 9. I do
and
think
if
he will
Mac
be.
Jones is there, then you jump all over it, in my opinion. And then I think what you do at that point is you let him and Drew Lock compete, for the starting job for 2021. If you have to bring in a vet like Fitzpatrick or someone like that to just sort of be there in case something goes wrong, you have them. But other than that, you let those 2 battle it out. I mean, you and I had lengthy conversations in
Oh,
regards to this. Got
hours
a little bit heated at times. So,
all the
um,
time.
but I mean,
Um,
my philosophy is let's get our guy at 9. Let's save our draft. We need to rebuild that defense. Our secondary's hurting. We just got rid of Bouye. Callahan, has a guy ever finished a whole season? That's a question. We don't know what's going on with Simmons.
yeah,
And then you
yeah,
also have K-Jax that people have said this guy may be a cap casualty. So there's a lot going on in
yeah.
that secondary, and we got a lot of young guys that are questions.
I think if you
So
miss out on Watson, there's a good chance Jackson's gone. And I mean, as crappy as that is to say, but I mean that's probably reality. Um, but let's backtrack to what you said. I think if you take let's say Mac Jones is the quarterback at 9. If you take Mac Jones, I would dump Drew right there, and it's not because I just think at that point, see what you can get for him, allow him to have the fresh start,
and
allow
John
him to get it. Yeah,
and
who is this?
John Burton comes to us with this question: why are you so high on Mac Jones? I like Mac Jones. The guy's football IQ is off the chart. I've watched some extensive film on him. The guy has an arm that can make almost every throw. I've seen him throw in the tight windows and everything else. I mean, he's smart. He can do pre-snap reads and everything. So I think he's going to be a legit. I'm not going to say he's going to be elite, but he'll be a guy that can get you, 10 to 12 wins a season.
Yeah, I think he could definitely. I mean, he's a definite upgrade for sure. Than what we have right now. If you look at it, if you look at Mac Jones and what the flaws could potentially be, I would say slow feet, and I'm not talking in regards to his mechanics. He just has an awkward like drop back. It's just an unfluid motion, but I mean that could be corrected relatively easily.
And I don't really care.
Yeah, that's it. If
The
that's
key
the biggest
point
flaw
is,
I'm finding,
yeah,
then
the key
I don't
point
have
is,
a flaw.
does the football get where the football needs to go? And 95% of the time with Mac Jones, it does.
Yeah, the only reason why I bring up the drop back and the slow feet is because of the style of offense we run when we do
Well,
play action. Is it? Yeah.
these
Is it
these
going to create an issue?
these guys aren't going to be here after this year anyway.
Well, no, I mean they're not. I mean,
You
unless
know,
some miracle, unless Mac
it,
Jones or whoever the quarterback is takes us to the playoffs.
right, right. And if we go Drew Lock or Mac Jones route, I see us, as an 8-8 team, maybe at best we miss the playoffs, but we're at least moving forward. And we get rid of Fangio and we get rid of Shermer and we bring in somebody who can utilize the talent of whoever our quarterback's going to be going
Yeah,
forward.
absolutely,
Like
absolutely.
you said, if we pick him at 9, you know, so if we
Yeah, I
pick him
mean,
at 9, then he's probably your future. So.
yeah, I would. Yeah, and a lot of people
eh,
consider some.
eh,
It's really when it comes to him, it's difficult though because some people feel like he's pro ready and ready to start day one. Some feel that
right.
he needs a year of refinement. We won't really know until it sucks that we don't have the combine or the pro days per se. So I mean, they're gonna have modified, I believe, but that's still
Yeah.
not the same as seeing what it's like. This comment right here, that is the other part I was gonna make. So a lot of one
Well,
of the
and
I
you
heard
know
that.
what? And let me bring up a point on this because I heard this today and it really shocked me when I heard it. Because everybody's been saying this about Alabama QBs. Tua is 7-3 last year as a starter.
Yeah,
That's not struggling.
no,
I think at times they just pulled him out because maybe situations got too big for him, but they're letting him learn.
yeah,
You
that's all
know,
it is, and they're
and
in a division that's perfect for him to do that.
and they say they're carried by their wide receivers, but guess what? You got the best defenses in the SEC too.
Oh, easy, hands down.
So
Hands down, best defense. So I mean, that whole team. That's when we look at teams like the Alabama, LSU, Florida. Um, I don't want to say Missouri, but I mean, I guess you could throw them in there. With these teams at the SEC, you do see an SEC boost. Does that mean that it could it play into why like a guy like Patrick Surtain is he one of the players that could be benefiting from an SEC boost or a Bama boost? It very well could be. You and I have both seen it after watching some tape. We see him get caught flat-footed. We see him lose control of his hips because he squares up,
mm-hmm.
and he doesn't have the fluidity to get back to where he needs to, and he doesn't have top end speed over the top. He's going to get burned by guys like Tyreek Hill, and until he learns to get better control of
No,
his hips
and
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 feet.
I think he's more of your zone guy, and if you want a man guy, then that's why you look at a Caleb Farley because I think he has the athleticism and speed over Sertan to be your man coverage guy. And I know what everybody says about him. Well, he got hurt, and he's only played cornerback one season, but that season was amazing. And I think he has an advantage because he's played wide receiver before. He's played quarterback, so he sort of understands that as well. So, it
Yeah,
helps him in his reads and stuff like that and understanding that. But back to the quarterback. So, as Jerry says, as bad as the QB marks have been, you almost have to grab one, just have one of them, you
yeah,
know?
yeah. And I know in Jerry's pipe dream world, he highlights Kyle, or not, or Trask. Yeah, it's Kyle Trask. I'm drawing a blank on his name. Um, to be there in the third round. I doubt, Jerry, that's going to happen. I
In
don't
the
see it
third round?
in the third round of what
No,
I saw today.
I think I think somebody reaches for him late first round, maybe even Pittsburgh.
I think it's Pittsburgh or New Orleans. They almost have to because Taysom Hill was not enough. He didn't show enough to really gain any, you know, overall welcoming over support or anything like that. He was pretty mediocre. Um, So I don't see him slipping out. I mean, I've even seen some people say where quarterbacks like Jamie Newman are sliding into the late first, depending on just draft needs because quarterback this year is just ridiculous. I think they said like almost half the league needs a course is preparing to need a new starting quarterback or does need a starting quarterback. It's ridiculous
So,
this
and
offseason.
I got a question, and this is basically based on Jerry's comment here. I hate wasting another draft pick on a QB, though, and I agree. But are we to a point, or do we just say, you know what, we're rolling one more season with Drew Lock? If he doesn't make it, then we go into 2022, and we're looking at like a Howell or Rattler or someone like that, and somebody else is going to blow up, and they're going to rise to the top, and there's going to be
Well,
quarterbacks
I mean,
available.
if you look at the draft, Howell is definitely the clear cut, and I don't think any of the other guys are going to per se catch him. But of course, there's always going to be a run on quarterbacks because it's the most sought after position. Everyone always needs one. And if half the league this year needs a quarterback, there's going to be a gigantic portion of next season who's going to need teams that need a quarterback. So so of course we're going to see them rise. If I compare the two classes, I feel this class is stronger. They're bigger. They're more pro ready. I feel like the IQs are higher. I don't trust Pac-12 quarterbacks, and there's two of them in that draft. I'm drawing a blank on the USC kid's name, but I think it's the other guy from Oregon's like
Slovis, I think.
Slovis, something like that. I don't. Pac-12 quarterbacks, we've seen them fizzle out. Oregon quarterbacks typically don't do well, and USC quarterbacks typically don't do well. It's because
eventually somebody's going to break that style.
I can't even tell you the last USC quarterback to have relevance is Carson Palmer.
Well, I think Sam Darnold would have if he wasn't so mismanaged in New York.
Sam Darnold. I thought you said Sam. Yeah, okay, yeah, Sam. I mean, yeah, if he went into a better situation, I could probably agree with that.
Yeah.
I mean, and Oregon. I mean, Herbert's kind of coming onto the scene, but at the same time, we've only seen a very brief sample size. It's hard to justify. Is that going to continue to grow? Knowing the Chargers' luck, it probably is not going to.
Yeah, who knows?
But I mean, beside that, it was Mariota, and before Mariota, it was who? It's a very difficult division to get successful quarterbacks out of. So I do think Howell's leaps and bounds above the rest of them. I like Rattler. I like his style. My concerns though is he's 6'1". He likes to hold the ball a lot. He likes to move around and run around and be kind of fancy like your Kyler Murrays and your Lamar Jacksons. Shelf life on a quarterback like that's typically 7 to 8 years. And while that's enough to do, pretty good things, it's not when I highlighted the prototypical thing earlier, I meant it as in just terms of career. I mean, just like what a prototypical quarterback would be, a 10 to 12 year career, that more towards that, then there's not really a prototypical style anymore because there's so many variations of offense. But that's what would draw me away. I just feel like, Mac Jones, I don't know how I feel about Justin Fields still. Zach Wilson, Trevor Lawrence.
Justin Fields. I like Justin Fields.
I love his character. There's been
so many people that said he went to Ohio State. I don't care where a quarterback goes. If he has skills, he has skills.
Yeah, I mean, the one thing though, this Ohio State team is a lot different. I mean, and even if you look at Justin Fields, he's a significantly different quarterback than what Dwayne Haskins is. They're not the same style of quarterback. Justin Fields is more athletic. He's got a better arm. He's got better character. So, I mean, just take Ohio State out of it. I mean, he could very well be successful. I think Haskins is his own biggest issue. I don't relate that to anything. But, I mean, Urban Meyer's offense never really produced very significant quarterbacks. Even looking back to, our golden boy and Tim Tebow, it's just not a very pro. It doesn't translate to the pro level very well. He doesn't prepare his quarterbacks very well.
I think Ryan Day was a savior.
Yeah, that's the difference
for Justin Fields. So, but
absolutely.
Anyway, it'll be interesting to watch this whole quarterback thing develop. We got free agency is going to start in less than probably about 3 or 4 weeks. So
it starts, I believe,
17th of March, I believe.
17th, yeah.
Yep.
Before that, though, we have decisions that we got to make quickly. We're running out of time for the options on Von Miller, and we're running out of the options for Kareem Jackson.
Let's talk about Justin Simmons first. That's the one. Okay. Rumors are flying around that Justin Simmons is going to get his second tag.
And I'm hearing it's a good thing, though.
And that's what I'm hearing too. That they're doing it so they can work out a long-term deal before the season starts.
It has to be before. I can't remember the exact
July 1st, I think.
July, it's sometime in July. They have to have the contract worked out before that. If not, he'll count towards the whole 13.8 towards the cap.
Right.
What I'm hearing is that with Simmons, with this potential re-sign, Simmons may be willing to take a significantly lower amount this year to build the team, especially on the defense, similar to what Garrett Bowles did. With him, I mean, if he takes it, let's see if, let's go back to Watson, if that's really the goal. And he's like, I want to be a part of this team with Watson. He may even be willing to take the pay cut for the first 2 seasons just to allow Denver to rebound and get some of those key free agents that are coming off.
I think that's a huge part. And it's like Adam brought up earlier, yeah, we do get people at a discount, and I think Justin Simmons would be a guy who would say, "I want to stay here and I want to play with Watson, and I'll go ahead and give you a hometown discount, and you don't
Yeah.
have to pay me the 15 million that I'm asking for. I'll stay here for 13 and a half or 14."
Yeah, he may even. I heard
And
some
he may
stat.
go lower.
I heard some rumblings that he may be willing to take 8 to 10 for the first 2 years. That is a steal.
What?
For the first, but it'll come back in guarantees and stuff.
Right.
Yeah, so he'll get a huge amount up front. So
Wow.
that base salary, even though it's lower, it'll catch up towards the end.
Right.
Because let's say if it's a 5-year contract, he'll have his guarantees up front, but then he'll also have his salary guarantees for year 3 and 4, and then probably be expendable after year 4.
Right.
So it depending on what they do. I mean, so.
Dude, now
it's hard though.
Answer me this. Is he part of a trade package for Deshaun Watson? What if Houston says to you, "All right, we're going to give you Deshaun Watson, 2 firsts, 2 seconds. We want Bradley Chubb. We want Justin Simmons." Is that too much for you?
No, because the reason why is
you just lost the leader of your defense.
See, that's where it becomes difficult. Simmons is the hardest part for me to have it. But now with these developments, let's rewind like 3 days ago when we didn't know that this was very certain. I would have that there was a potential for the long-term deal, and we were just talking about him playing on a tag. I would say yes. Now it's hard because the quarterback's the most important position on the team. No matter as much as I hate to admit that, I hate it. I hate to admit it, but it is. It's difficult, but. If now that there is a guarantee for a long-term deal, I actually take that back. I don't think I would be willing to let Justin Simmons go. Bradley Chubb, I'm ready to tell him see you later anyways, and he's coming off an all-pro year. The reason why I'm looking at that is because if you don't pay him this year, if you don't pick up his 5th-year option by, I think, May 3rd,
right,
he's going to be a free agent after this year anyways.
Right.
The tag's going to be a top 5. The 5th year, you got to pay him as a top 5. He's not played to the level of being a top 5. He's not there.
He is not.
And I'm not going
to. I don't have a problem if they include Bradley Chubb in a package, And another guy I don't have a problem with is Jerry Jeudy. I think there's plenty of wide receivers that you can get that you could replace Jerry Jeudy. So, but. That may be an attractant for Deshaun Watson too.
Yeah. So, the one name that I'm here is being thrown around a lot as a potential defensive player is Draymond Jones. And it's an area that hurts us to let him go. But at the same time, this is a very deep defensive line class.
Yeah.
And he's a 3rd-round pick. So, at the same point, is he expendable? And I would say yes. I think him and Bradley Chubb, Alexander Johnson, if he resigns, Josie Jewell, Mike Purcell. I think anyone on our defense, except for maybe Justin Simmons, is not untouchable at this point.
No, I agree. So we'll see what happens, But I'm excited about Justin Simmons because when I first heard this, I thought, oh, great, we're going to tag him. He's going to play.
Yeah, you got pessimistic real quick.
Yeah, and he's not going to want to stay here. So
yeah, and I provided you the point to where maybe he's willing to take the tag because he is hopeful that Watson is coming here.
Right.
And if he doesn't, that gives him an out via trade. If they were unsuccessful in a Watson trade, if that was the contingency for him to stay, Simmons technically kind of is running if he plays or not. He kind of holds the cards in the whole deal.
No, I agree. So, all right, Von Miller.
Von's gone. I almost can guarantee that.
And do you think these recent developments with the Parker Police Department turning things over to the DA and letting the DA decide if they want to file charges or not? Do you think this is making Peyton's decision easier to just cut ties with Von?
I think it plays a part in it for sure. I think the decision's already been made, though. I think when we've seen him delete all of his stuff off of his social media accounts, I think he's aware. I think he's getting the vibe of what's coming, and I think it's more along the lines of there's this investigation. Sure, that's just the icing on the cake. But he's north of 30. He hasn't. he's underperformed according to Death by Inches, Vic Fangio, the Godfather himself. He hasn't
Yeah,
been the
he
vocal
has.
leader that he wants.
Yeah, he
So I
has said
mean,
from day one that Vaughn can play better.
yeah. So I
You
mean,
know.
he's not impressed, and I mean, whether Peyton's here or not, that's Vic's defense, and Vic's going to get the final say of who his personnel is. I mean, that was part of the reason why he decided to come here. Elway said, "Okay, I'll give you the control of your defense, and we'll scout the players you want and sign the players you want to bring on." I mean, I don't know how much that's going to change now with Peyton at the helm, but if his mind has been made up on Vaughn for a while now.
Yeah, and that is true. So I think it has for Vic, and we'll see what happens. But I agree. I think Vaughn has played his last things here. I think Denver approaches him and asks him to restructure, and I don't think Vaughn wants to restructure. Now, if you get Deshaun Watson, then Vaughn may want to restructure and stay here. If Vaughn's willing to restructure, do you keep him here?
I don't think Vic wants him here.
Okay.
I
So
don't think it changes.
so you don't even think that option's put on the table for him to restructure, huh?
I mean, it could be, but it would have to be at a significantly lower discount. I mean, like I would say, I mean, people were rumoring it to be like 13, 14 mil, so taking from 22 to 13, 14. I would say you'd have to get him in the 8 to 10 range, and that's even being generous. I mean, I hate to say it because he's a Bronco and he's done wonderful things for us, but with where we're at right now and the type of work you've already mentioned, that we're going to have to invest in that defense, and if we're giving up all of that capital, it's going to have to come to those free agent contracts, and a lot of them or some of them have to be front heavy, and some will be back heavy, and it'll just depend on who the free agent they're bringing in is. But I mean that's 22. I mean $17.5 million that they're freeing up by not having him here. I mean, even with him, I mean, you let him go, or you restructure the 8 to 12. That's what 10 to 12 or 8 to 12 million you're saving.
Right. So
So
all right.
Kareem Jackson, I think he's here.
Kareem Jackson. Okay. Kareem
I think
Jackson.
he stays. I think he's here for one more year.
Yeah, I do too. There's.
He's one I see restructuring.
I think we need to keep him back there, along with Justin Simmons to sort of help this younger secondary that we're going to have, especially if Callahan can't, continues to be injured, and you're gonna have like OJ Moutier, and who even knows if he's going to be ready to go at the beginning of the season. He's had off-season surgery. I don't know what's going on with Bassey when he's going to be ready to go.
Yeah, that's an ACL injury.
Yeah.
I mean,
we're gonna, and it was late in the season too. So
yeah, I got a visitor today. If you haven't noticed.
So, and then
Hello.
and then we also I want to clear something up that came out today. So, Juwan James sent out this cryptic tweet today, and it said it was meant to happen. So that had Bronco country, everybody cheering, I think, saying, "Oh boy, he's out of here. Good. The Broncos have cut him." And I don't think they would. That's a $19 million cap hit right there.
Well, see, that's where it gets. Well, this is where it gets interesting, though. So essentially, with them cutting him now, it adds about $6 million. It takes away $6 million. So because his salaries we paid him so much in guarantees. So yeah, technically his base salary is at that. What is it like?
13.
I don't remember. 13 for this year.
Right.
He's already been paid majority of that. Right now, it's already being counted towards the cap. So you cut him pre-June 1st, it's only taking an additional $6 million out of your cap. So right now, let's say I think over the cap, we'll use them. They have us at 32, just under 32. So essentially, you drop to 26.
Right.
So it's not a huge loss. I mean, it's a lot of money to just give up on.
Well, I think the Broncos need to sit down and have a conversation with him first and say, "Where's your head? Are you going to play football or not?"
And this is gonna. So that ties perfectly into what could happen next.
Right.
So if they cut him with the post June 1st designation, his dead cap hit 0. You've already paid him his guarantees, and it's already been accounted for towards the cap. So essentially, you lose nothing.
Right. And just to clear it up, so the tweet that he put out there, He even came out later and said, "Everybody chill. It's just lyrics from a Drake song." So
Of course.
it was nothing. And Kliss even came out and said, "Hey, it's something non-related to the Broncos." So we'll see where this goes. I think if Juwan wants to come back and wants to play and is mentally ready to play, then he's an asset to this team. But you really need the management needs to feel good, and the coaches. Is this guy going to be fully available for this whole season, or is he going to check out on us? Is he going to get hurt and then he doesn't want to play anymore? So we'll just see where everything goes with this. So
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I wouldn't read too much into it. I mean, I don't know. I'm not high on Jawan James. I think it was a bad move from the beginning.
oh, I do
I
too.
mean, yeah, I mean,
But it is a
my
position we're hurting at right now.
yeah, if I'm having, I have a feeling he'll pull a Ian Desmond on us and just
He
say
may,
I'm opting out again.
yeah, he may opt out one more time. So
Yeah. So
and
it is to be seen. I
yeah,
mean,
definitely is. So all right, that's the big Bronco news. I mean, you got anything you need to discuss? Want to discuss?
can I flog on Locke some more? I'm just kidding. Um,
You're just trying to get my blood pressure going, aren't you?
No, I'm not, and I think I want to clear the air on Drew Lock. So I'm not against the guy. I'm really not. I just, if we looked at a scale, I would just feel that the side that of we'll put potential and strengths on one side and flaws on the other. The flaws definitely outweigh both. And we talked about this. I mean, we talked about this towards the end of the day. I don't think that it is per se his fault. We got put into a bad situation. He got put into a team where he was rushed to be a starting quarterback when he was meant to be a developmental guy. He got put in with two offensive coordinators, one being a first-time offensive coordinator in Scangarello, who did try to maneuver his offense towards once he got into the starting role with Locke. He's a product of just a bad situation. That's what it is, and his career's kind of flared out because
and it's like I told you, and you've agreed with this too. He's been mismanaged from the day he got here, and I just don't know if this coaching staff can manage him. I have zero faith in this coaching staff.
Another of those things.
Yeah.
I didn't like my food.
Okay. I mean, aside from Locke, I don't know. I feel bad for the guy though. That's the thing. I think I get a bad rep in our group because I'm so against him. I'm really not. I was rooting for the guy. I got his jersey day one. As soon as we drafted him, I went out and got it. I was supportive.
And I think Locke has the talent to play in the NFL. And unfortunately, it may end up being for another team because I don't think this coaching staff that we currently have in place can fix this guy.
No.
I just really don't. And I know part of it's his responsibility, but I just think the coaching staff as well has some blame in this as well.
Yeah. I do. I really do. I mean, his flaws, I mean, his mechanics, those things probably wouldn't change. And if they did change, it wouldn't be till probably closer to the middle of his career. But I mean, with the right system, the right coaching, we would have seen massive improvements from what he was in college to what he would be now. Even though it's been somewhat of a makeshift year 3, this is still year 3. We would be looking at him like, okay, we've seen where he was at. This was baseline, and just like you want your kindergartner to be on level or above, we'd be seeing him either at level or above.
Well, you might be able to see where he's at because there are a lot of Broncos insiders that are putting that it's over 50% that Drew Lock will be on the Bronco roster 2021.
That he won't, or he will.
He will be.
A lot
of the Bronco insiders
I
are
don't
saying
know.
that.
Well, Kliss says there was a report that Kliss said he felt stronger, that there was a better option for Rippon to be on the offense than Drew Lock.
Well,
so, I mean, it's just rumors everywhere. No one really knows what the truth is.
And I think that's if you sign a Deshaun Watson, but if you don't,
I think it's even if you draft a quarterback, I think it's the same. I really think it's the same thing because if you do it that way, you're looking at having potentially 4 quarterbacks. So, I mean, Rippon will be your emergency guy, probably sitting on the COVID list. But you're getting if you want to bring in a veteran still to help with the rookie and even Locke's progression, like a Fitzpatrick, that's $8 million you're having to look for, 8 to 11 on top of Drew's, which is about I think 3 next year. On
Yeah.
top of the rookie, I mean, granted, that's not that much for a quarterback. You're looking at 14 million, but it's taking up valuable roster space. Then you have the negative not necessarily culture, but there's just like that kind of negative aroma coming from over there of like, Locke's probably going to be pretty disgruntled if they bring in a rookie quarterback. He might feel like he gets challenged, but he knows that he's no longer in the long-term plans. I mean,
Yeah, and that's true. So, but it's a
who knows?
business. So
Yeah, it is a business. It's not about feelings.
He knows what's in his head,
Yeah.
So
No, I get you.
He may want out of here.
He very well may. Like, screw this. I really wish he would have found a way to end up in Detroit, because that system with Anthony Lynn, and Anthony Lynn is really good with these young kind of wonky quarterbacks. I think it would have just been a good fit for him. Now that's not going to happen, of course, with Goff being there. I mean, could we see him as part of a trade up to get to 6 with Philly? I mean, it makes sense.
Maybe.
Because I mean, right now they got Love, or not Love. They got Hurts over there, and I mean, he's really improving, and he is a weird quarterback. I think he should have played stuck to receiver.
Right. So, yeah, we'll see where this all goes. So, all right. Well, everybody, thanks for joining us tonight. Thanks for the questions and the input. Remember, check us out on YouTube at Rocky Mountain Sports Report, Denver, Colorado. Go ahead and hit the subscribe button over there. We're also on Twitter at Rocky Mountain SR. And well, everybody knows we're on Facebook because you're probably watching this on Facebook. So
that's our big one right now.
Yeah, check out the website, RockyMountainSR.com.
Yeah, absolutely. Apologize for the kiddo in the background. Looking for babysitters if anyone wants to come and volunteer. Hey, you might get a little spotlight on the show. I mean, my daughter Madison was trying to be the star tonight. If so apologies for that if she was a distraction to anybody. Dad's babysitting alone today. Wife was wrapping up some work stuff, so apologies for that. But and I'm still waiting to see if anyone will send me a Lock Flogger T-shirt. I will happily pay good money for one if someone wants to make me one.
You might have to head to the mall and buy your own.
Oh, come on. I know there's somebody out there. I know there's someone out there. Jerry, are you listening? I'm ready for my Lock Flogger T-shirt.
So, all right. Well, everybody, thanks for joining us tonight. Have a good night. I think we're going to have a slight schedule shift going forward, but we will announce it on Facebook what days and what times the show will be. But we will be doing a weekly show, and I think we're going to try to do another mock here in probably 2 or 3 weeks. Yeah, mid-March. So look out for that.
One thing I was thinking about doing, Dave, is maybe we post some times and dates out there that work best for us on Facebook. See if what works best for these guys and when they're available to watch.
Okay, we can do that. We'll sort of take a poll of the people, and we'll go from there, and we'll decide what's best for them. Because I mean, it's not really a show if it's just you and I here talking. We can
right now, those 5280 Mile High basketball guys, they're getting a pretty good viewer scale. We got some competition over here at Rocky Mountain Sports Report. The competition's growing. It sounds like In the Crease, which you all know is our Avalanche podcast, is going to be transitioning to live stream in the near future. So we're going to have some competitive views here. So we want the primo spot. So let's see what you guys got.
Yeah, I know we got other people talking about, getting something going too. So we may have more live shows, more podcasts coming up. So just stay tuned to our Facebook group page, and you'll get all the details there. So, all right, everybody.
Absolutely.
All right, everyone. Thanks for joining us. Yeah, have a good night, Matt. Have a good night. I'll argue with you some more tomorrow about the quarterbacks.
Yeah, we'll see if I don't lose my hair first.
All right.
All right. We'll talk later.
Good night, everybody.
All right. Bye.